tuning in after. So this is what we call the 10K challenge. And we do about 3 training sessions a month. They are open to most of them are open to the public. Some of them are just members only. And we do have, I think, 1 or 2 members on here today, and everybody else is a guest. And I just want you to know that you can take advantage of all of our content on our YouTube page. You can attend any of our events for free. It's a way that we serve the community. If you want to join SHIFCO, we would love to have you. It's one of the most amazing experiences that you will ever get. And it's surprisingly affordable because of the business model that we created. I'm a master at creating business models for scalability and profitability. I'll talk more about that. But our events are for you, whether you join SHIFCO or not. On Wednesday 19th, we have Meet the Experts. We do that once a month, and you meet our mentors and coaches. And the expert that we're going to have on, she is a phase coach. So her job is helping people that break the 10K barrier, if they choose to break the next barrier, which is 30K. And her name is Merritt. She's a leadership coach, just an amazing, intuitive expert. She works only with change makers in her work, and she helps our members both with differentiating their business, but also scaling it from the point that we're going to be talking about today, which is the 10K challenge. She helps them take that next step. On July 11th, we have something called the Success Switch. Highly recommended. I'm going to give you a little taste of it today. It's a way to trigger a part of your brain and continue to train that part of your brain so that you move out of fear-based responses and move into the part of your brain where success lives. So those are 2 of the events. There's others coming up, but those are the next 2 in the lineup. A little bit about me. I was president of an internet company that did a NASDAQ IPO. I'm older than I look. It's hard to believe I'm almost 60. Then I built and sold another company, and then I had my purposeful awakening. Several of you talked about your purposeful awakening. Mine was in 2008 when I sold that business, and I made this, decision that I was going to just use all of my business growth skills to make a difference, but also make money. I built a purposeful Shark Tank called Share on Purpose. We have a speculator fund that invests in conscious businesses. And then we also have what we call the cultivator, and the cultivator creates companies that serves this ecosystem. SHIFCO, which you're participating in today, is business number 5. So that's me. I spend about half of my time in SHIFCO because it is truly what I was put on this earth to do. And I have a leadership team that runs a phenomenal leadership teams that runs the other companies, and I support them. And so I'm here to serve you today and to serve all of our members. So what we're talking about is this 10K challenge. We run the 10K challenge every 3 to 4 months, and it is powerful. 85% of just under 85% of our members double their business from joining SHIFCO. And part of the way that they do that is participating in things like the 10K challenge. So let's talk about what's so important about 10K. And it really does relate to the power of conscious entrepreneurship. So I'm going to start with statistics. Normally, I like to start with a story, but I'm actually going to start with statistics. So in terms of the business makeup in North America, and by the way, it's very similar in Europe. It's about 5% difference in Europe, very similar in Canada. It's almost exactly the same in Canada. In Latin American companies, it's skewed a little bit, but these are good statistics to look at. 81% of all small businesses, 81% are non-employee firms, meaning it's a founder and they might have some contractors. So that's 8 out of 10. And what that means is the vast majority of those businesses are probably under 10K. My research says it's in the high 70s under 10K. I'm going to talk about why that 10K number matters so much. But I also want to look at employee firms, and that would be the 19%. So if we break that down, because a lot of people, when they think about business, and when they think about conscious business, they think about Whole Foods or Tom Shoes. They think about big, big, big enterprises, but 81% in North America, 25 million, are non-employee firms, and the vast majority of them are a founder who may or may not have a contractor or two on the team. So that means there's a lot of businesses out there that aren't making enough money to pay their bills, much less scale their business. And when you scale your business, you scale your impact, which we're going to be talking a lot about today. If we take the employee firm, so now follow along, because if you're not a spreadsheet person, this can be a little tricky here, but now we're taking this number and we're breaking it down again. So here is, you can see that, even that group of people, the employee firms, even that group of people, the vast majority of them are small businesses. So really only 3% of all businesses make it to a reasonable size. So, I mean, that's a very important statistic. So we think about conscious business, we think about change makers, it's us. And most of the businesses are smaller. They're not the large enterprises, that all of us follow. Patagonia is one of my favorite brands. And, they are great companies, but the vast majority of the businesses making an impact are like us. So I care about that segment a great deal. And why I care about it is, when you look at success and failure in business, this is from Fundera, 70% of all businesses fail. And I'm going to talk about what fail means in a minute. And only 30% succeed. Some of you have heard lots of statistics in this area. This one, I believe, is the most accurate from my experience. And if you look at the 70%, they don't necessarily say I failed. When I sold my business, I didn't say I failed. What I said is I sold my business, and I sold my business because my business was killing my soul. So when you look at that 70% that fail or exit, and exit is they quit, they go get a job, they sell. If you're an entrepreneur, you've probably thought about, maybe I should just go get a job. It's sure a lot easier. We've all had that. I still have that thought sometimes, like, what am I doing? So when that number, that 70%, keeps me up at night. And it keeps me up at night because those change makers, the people like us, when our business isn't growing in a healthy way, we get down. We make choices that don't help us go to where we want to be. We think about going back and getting a job, all of that. We think about, maybe I'll just combine my business with somebody else. Like, all of these things that limit our impact when the business isn't moving forward in a scalable way, we start to make choices and have ideas that are not going to help our impact. And I want to help you make a bigger impact in the world. And the way that we help you make a bigger impact is showing you how to build a healthier business. So if we take that 70%, 20% of them quit in the first year, another 10% in the second year. So that's a total of 30. 50% make it past 5 years. That 5 years is an important number. If you've made it past 5 years, you should really pat yourself on the back. But even still, then after that, another 20% exit. Now, what I really want to point out is the difference between here and here. Almost all of these, they sold their business right here. And one of the things that I like to show our members how to do is to build a business that, is sellable. Not that you would want to sell it, but that you could sell it if you wanted to retire. Because that right there is kind of where the upside is. If you can build a business that you can combine with another business at the right point in time, or partner with somebody at the right point in time, you can actually set yourself up to make a bigger impact. So these year stats, my experience with these, I help a lot of people raise capital. I help a lot of businesses sell and exit. And I help a lot of businesses merge, solo businesses, micro businesses, larger businesses. And what I can tell you about these stats, that first 1 year, if you're in your first year, that's when 20% of the people exit. They say, oh, this is way too hard. And so 20% in that first year realize just how hard it is, and they stop before they truly start. That group of people breaks my heart. So if you're in that category, I hope that you'll reconsider that, because there's nothing like building a conscious business. It is the coolest thing in the world. It's hard. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of elbow grease, but there's nothing like it. Another 10% try for another year. They typically bounce around from one program to another. So now we've lost 30% in 2 years. And then by year 5, 50% typically, so half, return to corporate America because it feels easier than being an entrepreneur. And when that happens, we sacrifice our purpose, we sacrifice our passions, we sacrifice our well-being, because we go back to tolerating things that we shouldn't tolerate. Now, sometimes, people move into a conscious company and it's a good thing, but most of the time they don't. Most of the time it's like, this is just too hard. I've been at it for 5 years. I got offered a job. I'm going to take this job because it feels easier than being an entrepreneur. And in some ways it is, but in a lot of ways it isn't. And then that last 20%, which makes the 70% total, sell, merge, or transition. So that's why when we're working with members, even when they're under 10K or in that second phase, 10 to 30, we are showing you how to build a business model so that your business is more healthy, so that you have more options for what you can do with the business. Okay. All right. So now when I look at this, where the 10K challenge came from is, so I, studied the 70%, and it hit me about a year into creating ShiftCo. Well, what are the 30% of the businesses that keep going? What do they have in common? And that was like the ding, ding, ding. And that's where the 10K challenge came from. So one, the business was more than a source of income. So they, like me, like you, all of you that introduced yourself, we certainly want to pay our bills. We certainly would like to have some financial freedom in the process, but we can't not do the business. Like, as hard as it is to do what I do, I wake up every day, I can't not do this. Like, I was born to do this. You probably feel the same way. So that 30%, they're purposeful. The business is a source of passion. Their vision is about something more than the business. But they also mastered what's called FD squared, which I'll be introducing you to. So those were the two things the 30% had in common. The business was purposeful. It was about impact. Regardless of how big the business was, they couldn't not do it, but they also mastered what's called FD squared. So let me introduce FD squared. About 15 years ago, I did what's called a factor analysis and looked at about 1,000 companies and said, the companies that are successful, what do they have? The ones that are not, what do they not have? And set the purpose piece aside for just a second. And what we landed with is what I call FD squared. So one is F. F is the business fits who you are naturally. That is the key to fulfillment. So the business takes advantage of your passions. It takes advantage of the mission that you're on. It fits your personality. And one of the reasons why ShiftCo is set up the way that it is some of you are not well suited to build a 7-figure business. Guess what? You don't have to. Some of you are absolutely, you want to build a 7-figure business. So some of you, your business model is going to be 100% services. Some of you want to have a combination of services and products. So one of the most important things is to really understand yourself, to make sure the business fits you so that it continues to be fulfilling. So that's the F. The first D is called differentiation. Differentiation is one of the core elements in ShiftCo, and it's to be different in a way that matters to your buyer. Differentiation is tricky because it's one of the most difficult things that you'll do. And you absolutely have to do it for your business to be scalable. It's a non-negotiable, but it's difficult to do, but it is ironically the key to making business more simple. I'll give you an example of that. So ShiftCo's differentiation is we serve change makers, and we serve change makers that want to grow their business. People that are not change makers, that are just out there doing a business, and or people that don't want to grow their business, they don't attend our events. You resonated with this event because you're a change maker and you want to grow your business. So that's why it's simple, is we've built a business that attracts the people that we're well suited to serve, right? So I don't have to kind of sort out, I shouldn't be talking to you and you're not really interested in growing. I have to sort that out because we've nailed our differentiation. And we can help you do that as well. And then the other D, so that's the D squared, is demand. You need to create a demand generation system that's based on value rather than promotion. And that, ironically, is the key to freedom. So what I found in my research is the businesses that broke the 10K barrier and were scalable, and I'm going to come back to why that 10K barrier, it does feel like a barrier, matters, that they broke 10K and beyond, is they had mastered these three things. So if you can just simplify things and just say, there's only three things I have to master: fit, differentiation, and demand. So our research was overwhelming. You have to learn how to master FD squared to grow and scale. And it's not something you can halfway do. You really have to learn how to do it. So that's number one. Now let's talk about this magical 10K. I'm not the only one to talk about this number. There's lots of programs out there, break six figures, yada, yada, yada. Well, one of the most important reasons you want to break 10K is so that you have the income sources to hire people to do the things that you don't enjoy. Somebody has got to handle accounting. Somebody's probably got to do social media. You might need a project manager or a virtual assistant. When you are everything in your business, which is typically what happens when you're under 10K, it's drudgery. And if you don't like sending out the invoices and getting the check and putting the check in Quicken or QuickBooks or whatever tool you're using, or if you don't like posting on social media, or you don't like some of the details in your business, if you don't get the business large enough, you don't have the resources to bring on some support. That right there is why the vast majority of solopreneurs end up exiting their business, is because it just feels like too much. There's too much to do. There's never enough time. Most of the things I'm doing are not what I really want to do. I want to be over here serving my clients. But the administration, the business is a business. It has to have administration components to it. If you can't break the 10K barrier, you don't have the resources to do that. The second thing, and we help our members with this a lot, and I'll be talking about this one particular place where I see this, is we help you focus more on the work you actually enjoy. And there's a little grid that you do and says, okay, I like doing these things. These things are high impact. That's where you want to spend your time, the things you love to do and the things that are going to make the greatest impact. Everything else we either have to drop or we have to outsource. Third is you can build a retirement nest egg. If you can get your business above 10K, if you can scale it above 10K, you can retire. And if you can even get it a little bit more than that, you can retire very comfortably. So that 10K barrier gives you some security. You can take your family on vacation. You can invest in yourself. Like, there's lots of things, but the point is, we are here as change makers to make a bigger impact. If I am sucked into the day-to-day of my business and I got to do this and I got to do that and I got to follow up on this and oh my gosh, all those emails are there, then I don't really get to focus on the impact, and that drains us. And we want to help you break that. So what I hear all the time, and I've heard this for the 4 years that we've had ShiftCo's about ready to celebrate its 4-year anniversary, is wait, I'm not motivated by money. Well, I'm not motivated by money either. My prosperity driver is impact. My second prosperity driver is freedom. I'm not motivated by money. The challenge, though, is in order to increase our impact, we have to learn how to scale the business. That we don't have to be motivated by money, but we do need to be motivated by scaling the business so we can increase our impact. One of my most favorite conscious leaders in the world, I know Elise knows him really well, James Creedon, summed it up at an event that we spoke at together. And he said, no money, no mission. And he said he learned that lesson the hard way, and he learned it for his clients. He's a attorney for conscious businesses, an amazing one. But that idea of no money, no mission, if you're not scaling your business profitably, whether you're motivated by money or not, you're limiting your impact. And as change makers, we want to help you increase your impact. And that's why the 10K challenge matters so much. Here's the tricky part. The thing about conscious business is, unlike traditional business, in my past, I told you I sold a business I built from scratch. I sold it in 2008. And I sold it because my soul was dying in my own business. And what I learned from that is that traditional business grows when you put growth mechanisms in place. Challenge with conscious businesses is our business grows as we evolve. So we have to do the inner work. That's why we do so many mindset things and energy work inside of ShiftCo, in addition to teaching the blocking and tackling, because we help our members evolve your mindset, your energy, the way you think, your relationship with prosperity, your relationship with success. Like, we have to evolve those things. And so my question before I showed you the 10K roadmap is, what if you could build a business that makes a difference in the world, but also creates financial freedom for yourself so that you can hire a virtual assistant, you can have somebody take over the accounting for you, and have somebody manage your website? Like, what if you could actually do both? And that's what the 10K challenge is going to show you how to do. Okay, so let's go through the roadmap. There's 4 sub phases from 0 to 10K, and you're going to self-assess where you are. So the first sub phase typically happens early on, usually in the first year, where it's a new, or it's what's known as a lifestyle business. A lifestyle business is, maybe I've got a significant other that has an income. I don't really want to work a day job. I want to make an impact in the world, but I'm not really sure I want to scale the business. And that typically, your revenue is typically 0 to 3K a month. And it is 100% okay if you're a new or a lifestyle business to stay there. 100% okay. And I applaud you for being there. The challenge is the business doesn't have enough resources to get some of the administrivia off your plate at those lower income levels, but it's okay to stay there. The second level, we see this a lot, and you might recognize this. I'm growing, but the truth is, I don't really enjoy my clients or my business. I made this mistake. It showed up very early in the process. Typically, it shows up 2 to 5K. And the funny thing is you don't have to shut it down and start over. We call that a passion pivot. You just have to pivot some things in the business so that it scales and it's more enjoyable. The third phase, this is one of the most difficult ones. If you're here, I feel your pain. And if you are here, let me know, follow up with me an email, and I'll send you another training that will help you with this particular phase. I love what I do, but there's not enough hours in the day. And you're stuck in the get the work, do the work, get the work, do the work, get the work, do the work, get the work, do the work. That typically shows up 4 to 7K a month. And again, if you're there, let me know, and I'll send you another training. And then the fourth phase is, you're ready. Typically, the business is consistently above 6K, and you're ready to scale it, but maybe you don't know how. But you can tell, like, I love it. I love what I do. I've got enough time to do it. I love the community that I've built around me, and I'm really ready for this thing to go. And so that's typically phase number 4. I'm going to go through the details of these 4 phases, and then I'll stop and take questions. So let's start with the first phase. So 0 to 3K, it's a new or a lifestyle business. Again, 100% okay if you're there. The things that you're thinking is, I really want to impact the world. I want to, I want to live my purpose. I want, and you're thinking about what you want. But in terms of behavior, there's a tendency to overthink things. And there's inconsistent actions, particularly related to demand generation. And there's not a moving forward. So if you think of like an athlete, if an athlete would be stuck in this category, they would get really excited and do their workouts and then stop doing their workouts. And then they get really excited again and do their workouts and then not do their workouts. And so that not moving forward, you get into this cycle of, oh, it's working. Oh, it's working. And again, if it's a lifestyle business, totally okay with that. What we're trying to show you is that if you can scale it to the next level, you can increase your impact. So that's phase number one. Phase number two is it's growing, but something's off. This shows up 2 to 5K. If we're really honest, the truth is I don't enjoy my clients or my business. Behavior is I'm not really as motivated like I used to be. So if you're struggling with motivation, you could be in this category. I'm not sure if it's the work or the clients. The business feels heavy and I'm not sure what to do. A lot of people get bogged down in this particular phase. The third phase, this one's really challenging because it just feels like there's not enough hours in the day. I love what I do, but there's just not enough time to grow it. You're stuck in to get to work, do the work, and you've been there a while. It's kind of like Groundhog Day. It's like, oh, it's working. Now I'm too busy and now it's not working. And there's just not enough time to consistently get new clients to grow to the next level. And then the scalable and ready to fire on all cylinders. Typically the business is consistently above 6K. It's scalable and it's time to step on the gas. In this case, you typically will have FD squared. And that's one of the things our mentors do is to make sure that your fit is on target, the differentiation is solid and effective, and you have demand generation solid. Now, in a minute, I'm going to talk about the strategies for these 4 sub phases, but I want to stop and see if there are any questions. And Lisa, if there's something in the chat, I can't see the chat. Feel free to shout it out. Who has the first question?
I put something in the chat. I feel like I'm sort of inconsistently breaking the 10K barrier, but I'm in between that. Like, I love what I'm doing, but I barely have time to just stay on top of everything. And I think my next step is having a virtual assistant, but that feels unfamiliar. I'm not sure how to do that or getting the right person. And so then I get busy again and don't work on it. So I'm just sort of in that in between space of I can see, like, I'm close enough that I can see how I could scale, but I'm just sort of drowning in the details.
That is totally that third, even though your income is above 10K, that is 100% that category. You send me a follow-up email, I'll send you another training session that we do, an introduction to somebody that can help you talk that through. And you're going to need to bring on a VA, even though it's unfamiliar. Otherwise, you're limiting the impact that you could make.
Thank you.
All right. Anybody else want to share or ask questions? Aquila?
I am fluctuating back and forth between stage 3 and stage 4. I'm sorry, stage 2. And my challenge is not being sure if, so my passion is to give support to small businesses, but what I'm finding is that they can't afford my services because I give high level services. My fees are not small. And so I'm losing clients. So now my income has dropped to stage 2. And I just left a phase where I had so many clients, I didn't have enough time in the day to do it. And so now I'm just sort of not clear what direction I want to go in. And is this still how I want to serve? Or do I need to go to corporate for a little bit, just have corporate be my clients just to get the income and then go back and reach back to serve. That's why I'm here. And so that's
No,
not really a question, but thank you.
no. You can make that pivot. It's a passion pivot and a little bit of what we call business simple kind of work together. You can absolutely do that without a doubt. You do not want to go back to corporate America because we get sucked in. When we're getting a consistent paycheck, it feels easier, and we start sacrificing our values and our principles and our time, and we put up with more than we should. You can absolutely make that pivot. All right, one more question. We've got time for one more, then I'm going to talk about some of the strategies, and then I'm going to give you 3 specific things that you can do right away. All right, so the strategies for each of these, if you're in the 0 to 3K, what we recommend is something called Jumpstart. And Jumpstart is a way to frame what you're doing and why you're doing it so that it pushes you out of your comfort zone, assuming you want to be. And so Jumpstart is the strategy for that. And again, if whatever these resonates with you, just send me an email. When I follow up and send you the recording from this, send me an email and remind me, and I'll send you another free training that you can listen to. If you're in the 2 to 5 where something is off, where you're sliding back and forth, like you mentioned a minute ago, part of what needs to happen is a passion pivot. And I'll give you an example of that. In a passion pivot, sometimes we change the target market. We tweak it just a little bit. And then that little change in the target market opens a door for us to increase the profitability or serve clients in a different way, and or we modify the business model in a way so that it's more enjoyable and more scalable. If you're in that get the work, do the work, get the work, do the work, there's what we call business simple. We need to simplify the business and break it and strip it down to just the basics so that you can focus on those things. And again, if that resonated with you, send me a message and I'll send you a training session. And then if you're above 6K and you really feel like the business is scalable, then that's when we recommend Growth Sprint. And Growth Sprint is really about the infrastructure for growth so that the business has the underpinnings underneath it to grow while you're servicing the clients. So those are the strategies. But I want to give you strategies for any of the subphases. And it really breaks down to 3 things. So first is, and I call this aim. So we need to aim differently. First is you want to alter your mindset and your energy so that you can strengthen your focus. And I'm going to show you a method to help you do that. Second is you really want to clarify your intention so that you're clear on what you want and why you want it. A lot of times what happens is we're reacting to the business. We start off being very purposeful and focus on our passion, and then this happens and then it happens and we start reacting to the business, and it's kind of like the proverbial tail wagging the dog, and we're reacting to the business, and it gets us off of having a clear intention of what we want and why we want it. This is also why we really want to help you scale the business, is so that you can broaden your intention and broaden your impact. Third is learn how to make moves rather than be in motion. And I'm going to talk about each of these 3. So let's start first with altering your mindset and your energy. That program that I mentioned that we have coming up in July called the Success Shift. If this appeals to you, take that program, sign up for that one on our website. So what happens is our amygdala is the place where it processes emotions and links them to memory. It affects our memory, focus, emotional reactions, and habits. And it starts to run us. And typically there's 5 core programs running us in the amygdala at any given point. And it drags our thoughts down and it drags our energy down. So what we recommend is to retrain your brain so the amygdala is not running you. And the best example of that, this is from a tool that we use called positive intelligence, is really using neuroplasticity or leveraging the components of neuroplasticity. I can never say that word quite right. where you're training your brain to focus in a certain way. And I'm going to show you how to do that. We call it the success shift. I'm going to show you in a minute how to do that. What we're doing in the success shift is we're activating another part of our brain called the prefrontal cortex, which regulates our thoughts, emotions. I call it the general. So the amygdala is kind of like the army, and that army's kind of running the show. But the prefrontal cortex is the general. We need to get the general back in charge in our mind so that we can focus our mind where we want it to be. And when we focus our mind, we change our energy. So this is called the success switch. I want you to do it with me because you'll be amazed at how impactful it is and how quick it is. And by the way, this resonates with you, sign up for the program in July, the free program on the success switch. We'll go deeper into it. But it starts first with acknowledging. And so what you do, and put yourself on mute and do this with me. You're just going to say, the truth is I feel, and whatever comes up, comes up. So I would say the truth is I feel tired. So just do that. We're going to wait about 15 seconds. Now, what you're probably noticing is your brain was going like this, and all of a sudden, when you say the truth is I feel, it starts to slow down, and then it moves into a rest state. That amygdala has been running us, but when we say the phrase, the truth is I feel, the amygdala stops and it turns to the prefrontal cortex and it says, okay, give me new information, general. This is what we want to have happen, by the way. We want it to get new information and to give it a more positive direction because it's kind of that worrying feeling. Now we're going to take 4 breaths. When we breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, 4 breaths, the prefrontal cortex turns on the parasympathetic nervous system. You're going to feel this. It floods the amygdala with happiness chemicals, dopamine, serotonin in particular, and all of a sudden we feel better. But more importantly, the amygdala is now infused with some positive chemicals, basically. So we've acknowledged, so the truth is I feel, the amygdala has stopped. It's turned to the prefrontal cortex. Now we breathe in through the nose and out of your mouth. Breath number 1. Breath number 2. You're going to feel a little bit of almost kind of lightheadedness. That's the prefrontal cortex turning on the parasympathetic nervous system and putting good chemicals in there. Breath number 3. And breath number 4. Nice and deep. So now the prefrontal cortex is soaking in dopamine, serotonin. The parasympathetic nervous system is turned on, which is a good thing right now. The prefrontal cortex is ready to give new direction. And then you do the C, call it the ABCs, just claim a new belief. You know, a minute ago, we said the truth is I'm tired. That was mine. My new belief is I've got all the energy in the world. And just do a little bit of imagination, just feel myself energetic. I'm working out, I'm doing my Rocky punches. So you claim what you want that new belief to be and you feel it. So just take 15 seconds to do that and you're going to feel that difference. And then we'll go to the second tool. Okay, so that's part of it. Regardless of which of those 4 subphases you're in, you've got to learn to alter your mindset and your energy to strengthen your focus. So you're focused on the things that are going to get you moving forward. The second one is your intention. You really need to be clear on what you want and why you want it. And third is learning to make moves. So let's talk about intention. Whenever I'm talking to a potential new member and I'm asking what's going on with their business, what I typically hear is, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this. You can't you can't grow your business if you think you need to do 50 things. So what we got to do is we got to figure out what's the one thing we need. For example, maybe you feel like you don't have enough clients or enough revenue. Quite honestly, that's a symptom. It's not a root cause. So a big part of how we work with our members and how we work with our guests is helping you clarify, where the gap is. Are you not getting enough leads? Or do you have leads, but they're not buying? Does it feel like you can't scale? So what you've got to do is you've got to focus it down, and you can do this yourself by just asking yourself, write down what you think the problem is, and then say, okay, why is that a problem? So let's say I don't have enough clients. Well, why don't I have enough clients? Oh, that's a great question. I don't have enough time. Okay, why don't I have enough time? Because I'm too busy doing the work. Why am I too busy doing the work? Because I'm not comfortable hiring somebody. Why am I not comfortable hiring somebody? Oh, wow, that's a great question. So you can strip it away. It's called using the 5 whys, and just peel it back to get to the root cause. But we got to peel it back and figure out what that is and intend to fix the root cause. If you're focusing your attention on symptoms, you're not going to move the needle. And intention is really clarity. And when you put intention and clarity together, you get focus. So go through that exercise, write down your biggest challenge. We're not going to have enough time to do that today, but write it down and then just say, why is that a challenge? Why is that a challenge? Why is that a challenge? Until you get to the root cause. And that's going to tell you where you need to focus. Last is make moves. So I want to talk about this from some research that I read several years ago. I was part of an advisory board for a company that helped professional athletes become entrepreneurs. And what their research backed up was that former athletes are 3 times more successful starting a business than non-athletes. And I call this the athlete's advantage. And if you really look at what that is, athletes are trained. They've trained their mind, their body, and their heart, and their soul to make moves rather than be in motion. Emotion is I'm in the act of doing stuff, right? I'm moving. I'm doing it, right? I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm busy. It's that kind of perpetual busyness. A move is to go from one place to another. So entrepreneurs that are successful breaking the 10K barrier, they get rid of the motions and they get crystal clear on what their moves are. An example of that is you can break your priorities into small moves. I dedicate, each day to making 3 good moves in my business. Whatever my intention is, let's say it's revenue, I dedicate time to making 3 good moves every single day. And so when you think about that, a move, if we use football as an example, an athlete is not training to score. What they've trained is to move the bottle to the next hash, or the ball to the next hash mark, and to the next hash mark, and to the next hash mark. So that last step in AIM is learning how to make moves. You're probably defocused on too many different things. We need to get clear, which is what the I stands for, is get an intentional but clarity in your business. What's the one thing I need to do? And then you dedicate time to making moves and not just simply being busy. Okay. So that's the roadmap to 10K. The AIM work that I gave you, no matter which phase you're in, will work. But if you're in one of these phases, when I send you the follow-up to the recording, you can let me know. And then I can send you some other things that will help you. And from a timing standpoint, if you're in 0 to 3, it typically takes 12 to 18 months to break the 10K barrier. If you're in 2 to 5, it's going to be less than 12. Most of our members do it in 6. If you're in 4 to 7, it's 6 to 9 months. Again, most of our members do it in less than 6. And then if you're at 6K and you go into growth sprints, 3 to 6 months, you're going to be past 10K consistently because the growth infrastructure is going to be in place. So the last thing I want to share, and then I'll stop and see if there's any questions, is what we call the 10K challenge. If you are already a member and you want to take the 10K challenge, email your mentor and member TLC and tell them you want to take the 10K challenge. It starts in July. You'll be assigned a specific coaching group that I personally lead and we're going to help you break that 10K barrier in 3 to 6 months. Also take the Prosperity Challenge as well. That's going to be a part of it. But I personally lead these 10K challenges. If you're not a member, if you do join, you will also be included in the specific coaching group that I personally lead to break 10K in 3 to 6 months. Again, it starts in July. There's other things that you get, but this is like on top of it. And again, if joining isn't something you want to do, I totally get that. We're still here to serve you. Just send me an email and I'll send you some other training that you can take based on that phase that you're in. And then you can also, there's also an event coming up in July on Leap into Prosperity. We give you a crash course in the Prosperity Challenge. That would be super powerful. So your business grows as you evolve. That is why ShiftCo has business training as well as mindset and confidence and those kinds of things, and overcoming fears and all that kind of stuff, because you can and you will grow your impact. And I hope that you'll participate in Mission Possible in the 10K Challenge. And thank you so much for being part of our community. I'm going to stop the recording and see if there are any